that they've gained.
More than a dozen British and dual British nationals have been detained in Iran, like Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, seen here on her release. She spent more than 5 years in prison. So why did the Foremans take the risk?
I had that natural reaction. I think some of the public do. Is that why did they go? It's idiotic. You're going against the advice, and it serves them right. But that's fair enough when you don't know them. Just picture your parents having a bit of a sense of adventure and going, and then that happening to them. It's a different story. I need them home, and I need them home as soon as possible. We need them home. The family miss them dearly. So we're going to do everything we can to make that possible.
John Sparks, Sky News.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by political commentator Benedict Spence and journalist and author Christina Patterson. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of The Guardian. Time is running out, MPs warn Starmer. We'll be right back with that story and others. Do stay with us.
app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live.
Joins us live.
All in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they come into us. It's time to see what's making the headlines with journalist and author Christina Patterson and political commentator Benedict Spence. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. The Mail leads on President Trump's call for the death penalty for the killer of Charlie Kirk. The Mirror also leads on the Charlie Kirk killing. The headline, "Got him." The Guardian is leading on the difficult week it's been for the Prime Minister. The headline, "Time is running out. MPs warn Starmer." The Daily Express leads with Kemi Badenoch accusing Sir Keir Starmer of failing to tackle growing challenges and heading a government in scandal and crisis. The Telegraph claims that the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, is laying the groundwork for a Labour leadership bid. The FT's front page focuses on Donald Trump's visit to the UK next week and the rush to finalise deals ranging from nuclear reactors to AI data centres before his arrival. The Eye leads on the property affairs of Labour peer and party donor Lord Alley. It says he evicted a family before hiking the rent on a London property. His spokesperson tells the paper the new tenant is paying below market rate and it was not about money. And The Sun's front page leads on Davina McCall and the news that she's to walk down the aisle with her long-term partner, Michael Douglas. And we are joined tonight by Benedict Spence and Christina Patterson to take us through the newspapers. Good to see you both. Let's start with the Mirror front page, just two-word headline, "Got him," referring to the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson who's been arrested over the murder of Charlie Kirk. Christina.
Yes, well, I mean, it's obviously an impressive operation to have got him so quickly, but clearly his family essentially turned him in. It's a heartbreaking story. There was a novel written many years ago called We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver, which was about written from the point of view of the mother of a shooter. And we generally, obviously, focus on the victim, and rightly on the victim, but there are so many victims here, obviously, not just Charlie Kirk and his family, his parents, his wife, his children. He had 10 million followers on Instagram. He was, I mean, I think many people in this country hadn't heard of him, but he was a very, very big deal in the American right and in the media in the US. But to realise, to spot footage of someone on TV and realise that your son is behind this thing, it's unimaginable. I just cannot begin to imagine what it's like for that family. And who knows, of course, we have to call him a suspect at this point, although he has confessed, so legally that's a bit weird. But who knows what was going on in his head? Both his parents are registered Republican voters. Donald Trump, even when they had no idea of the identity of the shooter, was instantly blaming this on the Democrats and saying it was a left-wing attack. We just don't know. We don't know what this guy's motivation was. Clearly, he didn't like Charlie Kirk. Why on earth he resorted to murder is, you know, beyond any of our guessing. But clearly it's good that he's been caught, and it's a tragic thing that's happened, and any responsible politician would be trying to de-escalate tensions in the US, and that, of course, is not what's happening.
Benedict, in one of our reports, we heard from neighbours of the suspect, the fact that he was very normal, intelligent, normal young man. A quote from a shocked neighbour here said that the alleged gunman came from a good God-fearing family.
They often do. I mean, you know, very few people start out being bad before something happens. You know, they change, they become sucked into some sort of political ideology, or they have a mental breakdown. And, you know, as Christina says, we don't actually know fundamentally what it is that has prompted this. I think there's a Wall Street Journal story that says that the ammunition that he used has been found to have been inscribed with anti-fascist messaging on it.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know if he was part of a group or acting alone. All of this will come to light at some point. I think what we can't get away from, though, is, whatever the motivation, this is a period of increasing political violence in the United States. And, you know, we can perhaps start from the attempted assassination of Donald Trump and then go through actually several examples of lawmakers at state level being murdered in the US since then. And that's not a new thing in America. There is, it's a famously very violent country, politically speaking, but it's a news cycle. And it does seem to be being driven by new ideologies, be it this, Antifa organization, or there are some, instances of extremist trans rights organizations, which I think, were linked to one of the school shootings recently. These are new phenomena, actually, that we haven't seen before. It's not simply the traditional sort of, white nationalist versus, far left. These are split-offs, these are evolutions of that. And, it must be said, Charlie Kirk was famous for being a placid individual in that he would go to campuses to debate people, but his whole thing was about tolerance and having conversations. That will have made him a target. I suppose the big fear is going to be now, and this is why I think you're seeing from across the spectrum in the United States, lots of commentators urging calm. It's not simply going to be people thinking it could be open season on conservative commentators. There will be left-wing and liberals thinking I could be the target of a retaliatory attack. This is going to ratchet up the tension, and I think it's going to make people feel very uneasy about engaging politically in a way that Charlie Kirk did, as you say, very effectively to many people, because it makes you vulnerable.
Christina, do you think we will be looking at a particularly different political climate now, following on from this murder in this way?
It's very hard to say because it's been a brutal political climate for so long. I mean, really, since Donald Trump's first term, his first inauguration speech was all about kind of doom and disaster and Armageddon, and his tone hasn't really changed since then. So, I mean, I think it is a very dangerous moment, but then America is a very dangerous country. There are shootings there on a regular basis, and there was that Democratic senator and her husband who was shot recently, and that, that has been not talked about very much. No flags were flying at half-mast as a result of their deaths, and I think the way that these things are used for political ammunition is very frightening. So, I mean, clearly, Donald Trump has been doing absolutely nothing to de-escalate, but whether it will actually change things, I don't know, because nobody seems to want to change the gun laws, and Obama tried, and Obama always was conciliatory after these terrible shootings. And, I mean, every shooting in America is a tragedy. That poor deranged person who called themselves trans and killed, what was it, 4 children in a church recently. I mean, people aren't even talking about that now. Those families will be mourning for the rest of their lives.
Benedict, the Mail pointing out that Donald Trump is calling for the death penalty for the suspect.
And I'm sure that'll go down very well amongst his base. There is, I think, again, as I say, lots of commentators, lots of people in the public eye have been calling for a sort of a ratcheting down of tensions, but that's very clearly not what a lot of the people on the right want. There is a sense, I think, with this assassination, with this murder, of a dam being broken simply because he was so famous a figure. It's difficult to think of a comparable individual in this country. I'm not sure I could. Somebody that young with that kind of energy, who was actually fairly ubiquitous amongst young people. Almost everybody under a certain age, I think, knew who Charlie Kirk was. Calling for the death penalty, whatever you may or may not think of whether or not it solves things, it goes down very well in America because it is a different country and their attitudes in certain states is very different to ours. I would hope that it doesn't lead to more inflamed tensions, frankly. I would hope that this is able to be done, the due process is able to be done smoothly without making things worse. But, as Christina says, this is a very hysterical country at the best of times, frankly.
Let's turn to domestic politics now. Telegraph front page. They're saying that Andy Burnham is laying the groundwork for a leadership bid amid a growing speculation that Sir Keir Starmer will not last in post until the next election. How credible do you think that is, Christina?
Well, it's been a terrible 2 weeks for Keir Starmer, hasn't it? Unimaginably awful. The whole Angela Rayner fiasco last week, and now this week this. And I've wanted to support Keir Starmer since he was elected, because the alternative at one point was Jeremy Corbyn, and Corbyn's Labour would never have been elected. Unfortunately, Keir Starmer seems to have made an awful lot of mistakes, and I do think the last one is pretty catastrophic. I think how he could possibly have seen those emails and not have sacked Peter Mandelson straight away. I can't imagine. I do understand realpolitik. I think that Mandelson was a very good Trump whisperer. Obviously, Trump was also a friend of Epstein's, and that's his kind of unexploded bomb. The Epstein stuff is not going away for Trump, so this is just going to add fuel to the fire of Trump's own worries, and he personally got on very well with Mandelson. So I understand why he was appointed. I understand Starmer's reluctance to sack him, but the fact that he was literally out there at PMQs on Wednesday defending him, albeit very ineffectively, it sticks in the craw. And I think Andy Burnham would make a very credible candidate. There's one little problem: he's not an MP. And this piece in the Telegraph doesn't even mention the fact that he's not an MP. And he can't suddenly go, abracadabra, make me an MP. The Labour Party, unlike the Tory Party, has very stringent processes for becoming an MP. And although I'm sure he'd be a very strong candidate and he'd be parachuted in, whether he'd be parachuted in by number 10 is another matter, because you're not going to parachute in your usurper. So
Labour aren't, just say they're not commenting tonight on this story, but a spokesman for the government said that they're getting on with the important work. Mr Burnham hasn't responded to requests.
Getting on with the important work of not paying attention to people potentially trying to defenestrate the Prime Minister. I mean, so what this story talks about is Andy Burnham is behind, supposedly, an organisation that's being set up called Mainstream. Everything in the Labour Party seems to begin with an M, Momentum, whatever it might be. That's it. Mainstream is a group of activists, party members, we must assume, therefore, some MPs, who are critical of the Prime Minister, and I suspect there's rather a lot of those now. So that's the first step, is that you start to create a network within the network, and it's all very sort of subversive. The other thing is supposedly that he is backing Lucy Powell for the deputy leadership of the party over Bridget Phillipson, who is, of course, everybody understands, Starmer's preferred candidate. Clearly, if Burnham wants to become party leader, he will have to be playing the long game. So it makes sense to be starting out now, trying to get your allies into key positions, trying to get the ground game off the ground, so to speak. That makes a lot of sense. But as Christina says, the one obstacle to him becoming leader is becoming an MP. And if you're making it quite clear from the start to the Prime Minister, I'm coming for your job, I suspect the Prime Minister is going to make it very difficult for you to try to get that job. So, but, you know, potentially 4 years, anything can happen.
The other thing to throw into the mix is the fact that Andy Burnham has always said he doesn't want to get back into it. So we shall see how far that story
I believe
goes.
him. I believe him.
Why wouldn't you? He's a politician. Benedict and Christina, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to take a break. Coming up on the front page of The Guardian, Prince Harry makes a surprise visit to Ukraine. Stay with us for more.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Do you fear a fourth indictment? Does your government owe an apology to the British home children?
Great to see you.
Does your government owe them an apology? The fact that they were intercepted, does that indicate a military weakness on the part of Iran?
No.
Free, wherever you get your news. There's no doubting the strength of this hurricane as it roars through. You can feel a devastating power. It had been a difficult night in a deadly storm.
Bang, bang. You can hear it hitting the windows.
Our houses are okay.
It's depressing.
As bad as all of this is, it could have been much worse. Today, this land they call sacred is at the heart of America's electric car revolution.
To me, it's a sacred ground.
The white gold rush is a race that Biden doesn't want to lose. I've covered some of the biggest stories in the world. Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, it would appear is about to learn his fate.
Escort coming out!
San Quentin houses America's largest death row. They rarely allow cameras onto the condemned block. James Matthews, Sky News.
I want to be treated equally like everyone else.
It's one step closer to getting out, to getting off death row.
Sky News. Get the full story first. Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
You're diminished by claims that you're a racist.
Question?
Mr. Musk, has your ignorance and ego cost Ukrainian lives? Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding. What do you call him, sir?
He's from Sky News. He's from Sky News. He's entitled to ask me questions.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury. I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides, and it's moving this way.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live. Joins us live all in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Welcome back. You are watching the Press Preview. Still with me, journalist and author Christina Patterson and political commentator Benedict Spence. In this section, let's take a look, first of all, at the Financial Times. And this is about the rush for deals ahead of the President of the United States of America visiting next week. The US and UK rushing to finalise deals on nuclear reactors, AI data centres and whiskey ahead of the state visit. Christina.
Yes, it's all a bit unseemly, really, because this is meant to
Why?
be... Well, it's a state visit. This is meant to be an invitation by the King to Buckingham Palace. But, of course, because it's Trump, you know, everything has a commercial aspect. And that's the point of it. I mean, for us, that is the point. Well, there are 2 points to it. Essentially, stopping World War III is quite a significant point. Not that anyone's doing a very good job of that at the moment, but that was meant to be part of what's this cozying up to Trump. And you know, when people say, oh, but, you know, Starmer shouldn't be so close to Trump, well, you know, the alternative, if you are trying to stop Putin from invading more countries in Europe and you are trying to help Ukraine from not being completely sacrificed, then what would you do? You know, I think I don't criticise Starmer at all for that. And also, of course, post-Brexit, we are desperate for you know, trade opportunities, and we have, and I think probably partly or maybe largely as a result of Starmer's good relationship with Trump and indeed Mandelson's good relationship with Trump, which of course has now been blown up, we have got a better deal than most countries. So this is trying to consolidate that with deals in tech and whiskey and so on. I have to say, I think, as a writer, you know, there is a price for these tech deals. And Peter Kyle, you know, when he sort of turned up looking like a tech bro in a T-shirt on all these TV interviews, you know, he was kind of, he's very much on the side of the tech bros. And obviously that's was his job. He's shifted jobs now. But
I was going to say, yes.
Yeah, but that's literally up as of 10 days, a week ago, whatever. But writers, we've all had our work completely stolen with no compensation, with our books just stolen and put on AI. So some people are paying a very heavy price for this. It takes years to write a book, and that's just being stolen for training for these large language models. And that compromise, as the government would put it, is part of what is, I imagine, enabling us to have these deals.
And Benedict, yes, that is the case, because we know that there's an American delegation. Sam Altman, head of OpenAI, will be part of that delegation that will be over here accompanying the president.
Yeah, and so will the head of NVIDIA will be coming as well. And there's going to be an extension of the Stargate project is going to be set up in the north of England. And the thing is, we have to sort of talk about this against the backdrop of the UK's economic performance, which is that the latest figures are that we had exactly zero growth in this economy for the last month, last quarter. It's not great. And one of the things, of course, that Sir Keir Starmer did promise when he got in was that he was going to get the economy moving again. He's failed to do that so far. This is an opportunity, I suppose, to do that. There will be other challenges along the way, but it must be said that AI in particular and other aspects to emerging technologies are things that the UK has been left behind on by lots of other Western nations, doesn't have the infrastructure for. And the insane thing about that is we actually punch well above our weight when it comes to the people that actually design these things. Our education system, our universities are top level when it comes to producing the best engineers, the best data scientists. So the fact that we are being left behind up until now has been a bit of an embarrassment. This hopefully will begin to redress the balance of that, I think.
Opportunities for growth, certainly. Let's just end on the front page of The Guardian, Prince Harry and his visit to Kiev, and also his meeting with his father for the first time in over a year.
53 minutes with his father, which, of course, is much better than no minutes at all, but it doesn't seem an awful lot after all this time. But given that the Mexican standoff there has been in that family after Prince Harry's explosive book, that does seem to be significant progress. And
Christina.
it does look as if this trip has been quite a PR triumph for him.
Benedict, thank you both. Just got it in there. See you at the top of the 11.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's senior Ireland correspondent. I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace. The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland. Catholics and Protestants now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19, religion's nothing.
Sky News, the full story first.
Fire, shouts the commander.
Force through!
There's a dash to safety.
We've now got to wait inside the shelter to see if there is incoming.
I'm Deborah Hames, Sky Security and Defence Editor. Should Russia's war with Ukraine escalate significantly, pilots like these could be called upon to go into combat for real.